Hello everyone! In this video I will show you the new second trailer for the third part of the game Poppy Playtime. In the trailer, we were shown more gameplay, location, and new characters. Prepare tea and snacks, we are starting. The trailer starts with a few pictures. This is the first of them. Here we see a room with beds on which children are lying. At first glance, I want to say that the room is very similar to a children's camp. Also on the wall, we see a small part of the painting, which shows the crafty corn. At least that's what I think. It's quite difficult to see, so if you think that someone else is there, write your opinion in the comments. It's time to move on to the scariest part. To begin with, there are 3 people in radiation protective suits in the room. It is also worth noting that the children's faces are smeared, and they all lie motionless. Does that mean they're all dead? Let's hope for the best and move on to the next picture. Here we see a photo of 3 boys and 1 girl. One of the boys has Huggy Wuggy on his t-shirt. Their faces are also smeared. On this picture, we see a photo of a single uncrossed boy and sheets of some documents. Let's read what it says together. And so, what can we understand from the outgoing document? Most likely, the photo shows a boy who is a test subject in experiment #1188. The experiment is still being driven by the Bigger Bodies initiative, as in previous parts of the game. It is also worth noting that the document mentioned past experiments, #1160, #1186, #1187. Can these experiments be the characters of the game? I think it's quite possible, but if you have your own guesses, then I'm waiting for you in the comments. Next, we see Playcare itself, which looks pretty harmless and is not scary at all. We also learn that Playcare is our very own on-site orphanage, but it's not only that.
Playcare, our very own on-site orphanage. But it's not only that.
In this shot, we see a room with a Playtime TV and a record player. Plush heads of the game's characters are also scattered around the room. There are Crafty Corn, Huggy Wuggy, Kissy Missy, and Catnap. We also see graffiti on the wall, which depicts Huggy Wuggy, Dog Day, Boxy Boo, and Mommy Long Legs. We also learn that this place was once a school.
On-site orphanage. But it's not only that. It's a school. A playhouse.
Another building, the so-called Playhouse. We can see that the building and the whole area looks very abandoned. There are stars, apples, and hearts painted on the house. There are also graffiti painted on it, joy, and another one that we don't see completely. We also see handprints. It looks like someone tried to climb this building. There is an open chest with scattered coins at the entrance. We also see a part of some duckling. At least that's what I think. What else do you see here? Write in the comments if you notice something interesting. The next location is inside the room. On the ceiling, we see a chandelier in the shape of the moon and artificial clouds. A 3-story building with many rooms, as well as on the walls, we see portraits of children and painted pictures of the characters of the game. Also, right ahead, we see a very intimidating entrance to the room. It looks like a prison cell, with bars and an iron door. What should a prison cell do in a kindergarten? Do you see anything else strange here? And if so, I made the picture a little brighter, and now we see another small Huggy Wuggy toy lying right in front of us, as well as several toys lying a little further away. If you pay attention to the walls, we will see stripped wallpaper. This building looks very abandoned and intimidating. Who do you think was kept in these prison cells? Were they really children? The voice in the trailer says the phrase that this is a place to belong. If we take into account all the factors that we have seen, then it all looks very scary. But we will go further.
A place to belong.
In the following frames, we see destroyed bedrooms, a huge hole in the floor, and a lot of broken beds. It is worth noting that in the first trailer, we have already been shown this, or a very similar location. You can also notice a toy. To be honest, I don't quite understand who it is. If you have any guesses, then write. We also see a piece of paper on the floor ahead, and in the next room, there is again a huge hole and destroyed beds. You can also see 4 cubes at the end of that room. Moving on. Next, we see the footage with very poor quality. At the beginning, we see a picture of Boogie Boy with notes. There is a tunnel to our left. The location is very similar to a children's play area, but as soon as the camera turns, we see iron bars. It is possible that this play area is just a large prison cell from which there is no escape. Then we see a location very similar to the subway, but something went wrong and there was an accident, after which everything crashed and caught fire. In the following frames, we are shown one of the characters of the game. This is Bobby Bear Hug. He does not look away from us, but does not approach either. We also see a new purple hand, which was also shown to us in the first trailer of the game. In the background, we see all the same broken beds. Perhaps the location with the beds belongs to Bear Hug, but this is just a guess. Also in these frames, Poppy's voice tells us that
the kids used to live here. Now look at it.
The kids used to live here. But what now? Are they dead or did they manage to escape this place? I just want to hope for the best. In the following frames, we find a new arm with which we can shoot fireballs that illuminate the area and can also help us defend against monsters. Unfortunately, there are only 5 charges in this hand, but I think that during the game, we will find new charges. In these shots, we see a dark room, lighting it up with a fireball. We see one of the monsters watching us. I think it's Catnap, but if you think otherwise, write in the comments. Also on the wall, we see another portrait of a child and very stripped wallpaper. I also want to notice a very frightening detail. As soon as we take a new fiery hand, the iron curtain at the end of the corridor begins to open. Does this mean that we will immediately have to fight one of the monsters when we take this hand, or is it just a pass-on? Next, we see the Playcare map. On the territory of Playcare, there are Toy Store, Home Sweet Home, School, Playhouse, and Colin Seller's office. We are here, right at the fork in the road. In the following frames, we see the use of the green hand, which we already know from previous parts. We are in one of the buildings. We see a staircase, stripped wallpaper, and several posters on the walls. One of them looks like a poster with a Crafty Corn character. Here is the original image for comparison. Next, we see a location that looks like a very large cave, as well as the use of a purple hand with which we can recline from the floor and jump over various obstacles. In the following frames, we are shown Catnap, from which we are hiding. It is also worth noting the words Poppy in the background.
Hiding spot. And when you're at your most vulnerable, he'll kill you.
She said he would kill us, but who did she mean? Whether it's Catnap for sure, or someone else. In the following frames, we see the exact aiming of the hand, or rather, the dummy with the grab pack, which can activate several activators at once. Next, we are in a fairly narrow corridor. To our right, there is a vending machine with water or snacks. By the way, Mommy Longlegs is painted on it. It is also worth noting that we carry a charging unit, which we most likely obtained in the last test, and throw it in the right place. In this way, the door opens and we can move on. Later, we pass through a strange narrow corridor. Underfoot, in the likeness of some kind of inflatable boat or mattress. Write in the comments what it looks more like. So under my feet, I see the number 8, or is it an infinity sign? What does this mean? Personally, I do not know. Passing on and lighting the corridor with our flamethrower arm, we see small compartments that can be used as tunnels through which you can escape or hide from enemies. In the following frames, we are wearing a gas mask, and we see several doors. The first door leads us to the head of gas protection. Then the head of the Playhouse. His name is Greg Fecteau. Right at the beginning, we see a poster on the wall. It shows Daisy and it says, "Stay energized." On the chandelier, we see a plush toy of the character. But unfortunately, I can't figure out who it is exactly. If you recognize any of the characters in it, then please write in the comments. Unfortunately, I can't recognize exactly what is written on the third door. Maybe it's the head of Home Sweet Home, one of the buildings in Playcare. Also, to open the doors, we see a power unit that needs to be inserted into this place. This is what we saw in the previous shots. Next, we see a Playtime toy car, which starts by pulling back the rope. It accelerates good and flies over a huge pit in the middle of the room. Speaking of the room, this is again the bedroom where we saw Bobby Bear hug. Next, we see a cassette from Playtime which says "The Hour of Joy." Here I think it's worth listening to what Poppy tells us.
Playcare is his church, his hunting ground, whatever he wants it to be.
I want to know what happened and why. This is your answer.
Here we see Catnap chasing us. This is not a gameplay video, but it's still worth noting that we are in the Playzone. In the following frames, we find ourselves in the hallway. A plush toy is lying on the floor next to us. Then, there is some kind of figure. I can assume that this is one of the people in radiation protection suits whom we saw at the beginning of the trailer. At the end of the corridor, we see the inscription, "Science." And under the inscription, we can see some kind of balloons with eyes. Also, at the end of the corridor, we see some kind of dark silhouette. After a few frames, the light flickers and the silhouette gets closer. It reminds me of some girl in a dress, but I do not know exactly who it may be. Next, we are shown gameplay footage of using a purple hand. Here we also see compartments for the placement of power units, which we have already seen earlier. In these frames, we are shown the very cave that we saw earlier, and it is worth paying attention to the broken path. I think it will be very difficult to get there. Here we are in a tunnel, and one of the monsters is chasing us. But as soon as we shoot a fireball from our hand, he gets scared and runs away from us. I think it's Dog Day, but is it really that small? Part of him looks really cute. From a small tunnel, we go out into the corridor. On top of the pipe, you can see the inscription run, as well as several toys of characters such as Candy Cat, Bron, Boogie Bot hang on it. We also see a broken gas mask under the pipe. Next, we see a scene with Kissy Missy and Poppy against a starry sky background. The scene changes, and now we are already running down the corridor. To our left is the door to the head of toy store Eduardo room. Also on the right side on the wall, we see a poster with a scary Daisy. And at the end of the corridor on the wall, the inscription, "Help." Next, we are shown running away from an angry Huggy Wuggy.
All that awaits you are incomprehensible horrors. Smiling mouths full of teeth and meat and plastic. This world is theirs now.